Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Empire State, more specifically the Steel Palace, the Oswego Speedway, for a new series, the JBSRL Thursday Night Rising Stars Series featuring the street stocks. Usually catch us on Monday nights racing tour mods, broadcasted by Doug Burns of How to Suck at iRacing. Qualifying just wrapping up here at the Oswego Speedway. It's going to shake out just like this. The 64 machine of Cody Kennedy going to be quick time tonight, 20.12 seconds around the 5/8 mile Steel Palace. 12 cars on hand tonight. Should make for a great 50-lap feature event. Got some heat race highlights coming to you from the Oswego Speedway. Full field invert based on their qualifying time. And just an 8-lap mad scramble to reset the starting position for tonight's main event. You can see right off the get-go, 2, 3, even 4 wide back in the pack. First incident of the race is going to be Brandon Murphy, Jacob Van, and the 61 all having issues on the opening lap. Now, no cautions in the heat races here at JBSRL. Second incident of the race, running second, Becky Snodgrass gets loose, gets into the wall. Tries to defend her position. Gets real tight, trying to enter on the bottom. Runs across the nose of Richie Joplin. Moves her way topside, loses some spots in the process. Hard racing going on between Richie Joplin and the 151 for the third spot. Slows both cars up, moves them to the back. And at the end of the 8-lap scramble, Matt Moniak goes from mid-pack to the win and will lead the field to the green in tonight's 50-lap main event. Before we bring you the street stock main event, we're going to take you back to Monday night before the tour mods with the Legends feature. 12 cars took on the short configuration here at the Oswego Speedway, turned into a true war of attrition. As you see how it starts right here, first lap of the race, Eddie Jones finds himself facing the wrong way on a one-way street. First restart, lap number 2, you can see Scott Snodgrass and others having a rough time turns 3 and 4. Second restart, lap number 3, you're going to see the 64 Cody Kennedy go around on the back straightaway. Going into turn number 3, the 63 of Dave Holmberg loses it on the high side and crosses in front of the field. A couple laps later, the 104 of Dave Lux doing Lux things, first of many for the night. A little bit of a battle for the second spot early on between the Thornton boys. Andrew in the 31, Austin in the 96. Scott Snodgrass having trouble with turn number 3 and ends up with this spectacular highlight. Let's jump inside and take a ride on the wild side with Snodgrass. Gets loose getting into 3, overcorrects his way through the barriers. Finds a great parking spot for the later tour mod event. Let's take a ride with the number 96 of Austin Thornton, just so you can see exactly how rough and wild this track is for these Legends cars. Keep an eye on the tachometer and how much it moves around all through the racetrack, and how he has to keep the wheel turned to the left, keep the right side loaded to keep the car planted. And the elevation change in turns 3 and 4 on the short configuration definitely kept the drivers on their toes all race long. Becky Snodgrass finding the bump off turn 4, loses it down the front straightaway, finds her way into the turn 1 wall. David Lux at his second incident of the night, a little bit rougher than the first one. Finally, at the halfway point in this 30-lap main event, Matt Moniak had led it since the drop of the green flag. Concedes the lead to Andrew Thornton. Austin Thornton stays right on his tail, slips by into the second spot, and Matt files back down into the third position. Eddie Jones goes for his second spin of the night. And David Lux, with his third inch of the night, draws the final yellow at 5 laps to go. And finally, the 30-lap race that nobody thought would ever end Andrew Thornton, Austin Thornton, Matt Moniak come off turns 3 and 4 to finish 1, 2, and 3 in the season opener for the JBSRL Legends Division. Your winner, Andrew Thornton, of 31 out of Granbury, Texas. Second place is going to be the number 96 of Austin Thornton out of Joplin, Missouri. And rounding out your podium, the My Little Pony car, the number 24 of Matt Moniak out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. There we go. It is showtime for the first time for the Thursday Night Rising Stars Series here at JBSRL at the Oswego Speedway. Starting on the pole tonight, going to be the number 24, the Maniac, Matt Moniak out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Outside of the front row tonight, going to be 69, Ryan Daniel with the phony Pontiac Grand Prix. Inside of row number 2, that's going to be Scotty Too Hotty out of West Melbourne, Florida. Scott Snodgrass in the Harry Gant Tribute Machine. To his outside, the 113 of Vern Spring, Smokey and the Bandit Tribute Trans Am. Inside of row number 3, Mr. I Can't Turn on Dirt, Richie Joplin out of Hudson, North Carolina. Got him registered as the 08. He's driving the 75, the backup machine from a different league. To his outside, going to be the wooden panel van. That's going to be Ron Hart in the 151. The black and green wrecking machine, the Gravedigger paint scheme for Cody Kennedy, the 64 ride out of Corunna, Michigan. To his outside is going to be the 30 of Jacob Van. Starting the 9th position tonight, that is Mrs. Snodgrass, Becky in the U.S. Army number 88. To her outside, that's going to be Brandon Murphy, the Texaco Haviland Ford Thunderbird. And rounding out the field, making his debut tonight with JBSRL is going to be the 61 of Frank Hughes Jr. Into turn number 3, through turn number 4, nice and slow. Everybody looking at Barney the Flagman on the left side of the speedway here. Moniak's going to slow roll us to the green. He punches loud, pedal, green flag to the air. We're racing here at Oswego. Immediately right down to the inside of the speedway, as that's going to be the dominant line all night long. A little bit of G-body shuffling there in the back. A lot of drivers utilizing the brand new Metric Street stock here on iRacing tonight. Ryan McDaniel moving backwards here. He goes from 2nd to 5th on lap number 1. Moniak continuing to work the low side of the speedway. Snodgrass running in the 3rd spot with Cody Kennedy. A little bit of shuffling there in the back. Looks like Ryan McDaniel got hung up on the wall on the inside of the speedway. Moving back up towards the front, the lone F-body car here in the field tonight. Vern Spring currently runs in the 6th spot. Snodgrass sails it up high, and he's going to lose a few spots. Drops back to 6 here as we start working lap number 5. Matt Moniak and Richie Joplin setting the pace. Joplin closing in ever so slightly on Moniak. Let's take a ride with Richie Joplin here around the Oswego Speedway. Really bumpy racetrack here. See the drivers wrestling the wheels, cars dancing all over the place. Street stocks soak it up a lot better than some of the other cars. Definitely a lot better than the Legends that you watched earlier here. Just about clips the wall coming off turn number 2. Almost turns into a game of limbo of how low can you go, and if you keep it straight, you're going to be fast as he's closing in on Moniak. Only 2/10 separate him at the line this time. Cody Kennedy currently running in the 3rd spot. Trying to throw his hat in the ring for a shot at the lead. A little bit further back in the pack, Scott Snodgrass and Vern Springs side by side. That is the battle for the 5th spot. Frank Hughes Jr. sticks right to the tail. Snodgrass hangs Vern to the high side of the speedway. And now he's looking under Snodgrass. Really loose through the corner. Oh, he puts it in the wall. See if that's going to draw yellow. It does not. Hughes toes to pit road really quickly. Green flag is going to stay out. back up front. Richie Joplin still right on the tail of Matt Moniak. As we come around, we start working lap number 10. We're 1/5 of the way home here at Oswego. Moniak continues to lead. Richie Joplin running in second right on the bumper. Cody Kennedy only 1 car length back in a third spot, and Ron Hart trying to make this a 4-car race for the lead. A few seconds behind, Scott Snodgrass finally has some breathing room, running in the 5th spot. Seems to be a 1-lane freight train. If you can hold it down by the wall, everybody's going to have a hard time getting around you. As I say that, it looks like Ron Hart's going to try to make a move on the high side, try to get around Kennedy for the 3rd spot. He wants a shot at the podium. Still side by side with Kennedy. Kennedy's on the brakes to keep the push from causing an issue. Ron trying to use the momentum on the high side by side as we start lap 13 for the 3rd spot. Two good battles going on here up front. Got Moniak and Joplin going at it for the lead. Kennedy and Hart really battling out for the final podium spot. Now lap 14, looks like Hart's going to file in behind Kennedy. A little further back, Brandon Murphy, Vern Spring, and Jacob Van and Murphy's around. That is going to bring out a yellow. Looked to me like incidental contact. Jacob Van just getting in the corner a little bit too hot. And Murphy, unfortunately, wrong place, wrong time, gets spun around. And that'll bring us to our first yellow of the evening. Here we go, we got them re-racked and restacked. We're going to be coming to lap 19 of 50 this time by. Moniak brings us back to the green, and we're racing once again here at Oswego. Moniak down to defend the low side. Richie Joplin right on his tail. Cody Kennedy a little bit loose there. Ron Hart working that middle groove, which is the high line here at Oswego. He wants that 3rd spot, he wants it bad. Now Hart goes and crosses Kennedy over. Now he's got the inside line into turn number 3. Side by side for the final podium spot here. Got turn number 4 down the front straightaway. We're still side by side. Ron Hart and Cody Kennedy showing this can be a 2-groove racetrack. Looks like Kennedy's going to cross him over. Does he have the run down the straightaway? He does not. Kennedy moved back to the 4th spot. Scott Snodgrass waiting in the wings in the 5th spot, waiting for a mistake to make his way onto the podium. Moniak still pacing the field out front. Richie Joplin looking for a way around him. This time by, let's check out the left front GoPro. On the 151 of Ron Hart, you see just about drags it off on the wall, just over the top of the wall there in turn number 2. See a lot of steering input, a little bit loose, trying to hold it on the bottom. As he works down to the inside of Richie Joplin, Ron Hart looking for P2. A little bit of rubbing down the back straightaway. Ron Hart now in the noses ahead for the 2nd spot. Richie Joplin back to P3. Cody Kennedy tried to stick his nose underneath Joplin for the 3rd spot. Not going to make it happen. Snodgrass sends it in. He's going to get P4. We're 3 wide for 3rd place on the back straightaway going to turn number 3. Richie Joplin motors his way ahead of both cars. Snodgrass trying to get underneath him. Cody Kennedy trying to use the momentum on the high side to get around him. Now back door Cody Kennedy, Scott Snodgrass now for 4th. Richie Joplin solidly has 3rd place for the moment. Vern Spring, the only true leaf spring car in the field. He's now up here. Currently running in the 6th position right behind Cody Kennedy. Meanwhile, out front, Matt Moniak has worked his way ahead to a 1 second advantage over Ron Hart. Just past halfway here. Now have 22 laps to go in tonight's main event. Ron Hart running in 2nd, Richie Joplin 3rd, Snodgrass 4th, Cody Kennedy in the 5th spot. Vern Spring looking to make his way into the top 5. Brandon Murphy, after the earlier incident, the lone Ford in the field, running in the 7th spot. Ryan McDaniel and Jacob Van running for the 8th spot here at the tail end of the field. Becky Snodgrass is back on track, albeit several laps down. Moniak continues to extend his lead, now 1.3 seconds, as we have a race for 2nd place, Richie Joplin and Ron Hart. Joplin has it that time by. Hart up to the high side, he looks to cross him over. Grazes the wall a little bit out of turn number 2. Joplin defends perfectly, cuts off any run the Hart might have. Time starting to run out as we're down to 18 laps to go. Richie Joplin, the closest to Matt Moniak, 1.25 seconds behind. Does the newcomer Ron Hart have anything for Richie Joplin or Matt Moniak? Not a driver we've seen on broadcasts here at JBSRL in previous seasons. Scott Snodgrass currently rolling around in the 4th position as we're starting to single file and spread out just a little bit here around the Oswego Speedway. Everybody's settling into a rhythm, about a half a second between each and every car on the racetrack, except for Matt Moniak. Richie Joplin has closed the gap on Moniak by a 10th or so. This time by, we're going to have 14 laps to go here at the Steel Palace. Cody Kennedy looked really strong in the early going. Makes you wonder if tire wear is starting to become an issue. Currently rides around in the 5th position. Meanwhile, Scott Snodgrass has made up ground on Ron Hart. Right to the back bumper into turn number 1, out of turn number 2. Tries to cut down low. See if he can cross him over into turn number 3. Not quite. Right to the bumper, though. Snodgrass trying to find his way onto the podium. Hart dirt tracking the car a bit into turn 1. Cars seem to be fairly loose on corner entry here tonight. Snodgrass again, right to the back bumper. A little bit of contact this time. Looks like he's trying to give him a little bit of a bump and run. If he can get Hart up the racetrack just a little bit to where you can get a nose underneath him, he'll have the spot. This time by, we got 10 laps to go. Matt Moniak still leading by about 1.2 seconds over Richie Joplin, who himself has 1.3 seconds to the 3rd place battle right now between Ron Hart and Scott Snodgrass. A little further back, Cody Kennedy still running around in the 5th spot. Brandon Murphy, the next car behind him on track, currently being scored in 9th, 4 laps down. Vern Spring in the 6th spot behind another lapper, Jacob Van. Van has currently scored 3 laps down, and your last car is still on the lead lap in the 7th position is the 69 of Ryan McDaniel. Ron Hart seems to have gotten a little bit of breathing room over Scott Snodgrass. The leaders working their way around Becky Snodgrass. Pulls down to the inside, lets him go. I believe tire wear is starting to set in a bit. You see Snodgrass rolling the car into the corner, and it is loose in, and then when he catches it, it is tight from the center off. Not able to hug that wall like he was doing several laps prior. As the leader comes down this time, we have 5 more laps to go here at Oswego. Matt Moniak has dominated it from the drop of the hat. Richie Joplin keeping pace with him. The problem is he's been keeping the same pace with him for about 15 laps, still 1.3 seconds behind in the 2nd spot. Closest battle on track is still for 3rd. Scott Snodgrass got a good run into turn number 1 that time on Ron Hart. Does Snodgrass have anything for him? Coming around, Matt Moniak takes 3 laps to go. Open up the lead on Joplin just a little bit, 1.4 seconds now. Snodgrass right to Hart's bumper here, 2 laps to go. Trying to set him up for a bump and run for the 3rd spot. Into turn number 3, 1 car length back. Doesn't have the speed. Come around, Matt Moniak takes the white flag. 1 lap to go. The race is for 3rd, the final podium spot. Does Snodgrass have anything for him? It's right within a half a car. Doesn't look like he's going to have it. 1 more chance to set him up. Turn number 3. Not going to do it. Alpha turn number 4. Checkered flag's going to fly. Matt Moniak going to take your main event win here with the JBSRL Street Stocks. 2nd place is going to be Richie Joplin. And Ron Hart is going to round out the podium. And your main event winner tonight, coming to you to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the number 24 of the Maniac, Matt Moniak, leads it flag to flag, leads all 50 laps from the pole to take your win here tonight. 2nd place is going to go to our resident grouchy old guy, Richie Joplin out of Hudson, North Carolina. Ron Hart in the Woody wagon. Didn't stay around to make his way to victory lane and the podium winner circle photo, but he's going to finish it up in 3rd place tonight. So that's going to do it for us tonight here from the Oswego Speedway. Final main event rundown looks like this. Matt Moniak going to be your winner. Richie Joplin and Ron Hart round out the podium. Scott Snodgrass, Cody Kennedy round out the top 5. Vern Spring, Ryan McDaniel, the top 7. Only cars on the lead lap. Jacob Van, Brandon Murphy, Becky Snodgrass going to round out your top 10. Frank Hughes in the 11th spot. And Andrew Thornton not making the grid for the main event is going to round out your 12-car field tonight here at the Steel Palace. Well, we sure do appreciate you tuning in. Hope you enjoyed tonight's racing action. If you would like to race with the JBSRL, be sure to check us out on Facebook or on iRacing. That is JBSRL, the Jones BS Racing League. Next week, the series goes to the New Smyrna Speedway in Florida, and J.R. Tanks is going to take over the reins of the broadcasting for the Thursday night Rising Stars series. We'll be sure to post a link to his channel whenever he gets it set up. Signing off from the Oswego Speedway, my name is Andrew Thornton. Good night, and we'll see you in the next one.